Hey guys, it's Eric Green. Listen, how do I make sure that all these potential clients sign my letter and pay me before we start doing work? I use Anchor. Anchor created a fully autonomous billing system and it closes the cycle with zero errors. It sends our agreement to the potential client. We'll follow up with them automatically to make sure that agreement is signed. It alerts us when it gets read, when it's signed, and when payment is made. And this way, you know where you are every step of the way. I was so impressed with Anchor, which, by the way, is free. We went to Anchor and have partnered with them. Now, if you go and you register with Anchor, which is free, by the way, if I didn't mention that, you will get access to all of our checklists and letters, okay? But you have to go through our link, all right? Again, by the way, Anchor's free. There is a $5 fee per transaction if you're wondering how they make money. But given that our minimum retainer is $750, it's less than 1%. It's nothing, okay? So again, it's free. They charge the $5, transaction fee on payments, and it will automate your onboarding clients, make follow-up, just puts it on autopilot. It just saves you all that stress and you will close more deals. All right. So sign up here. It's www.sayanchor.com/tax rep. Again, sayanchor.com, sayanchor.com/tax rep, TAXREP. When you go through there, you'll sign up for free and you will have access to all of our letters and checklists, which will save you the trouble of recreating them yourself. All right. Go check out Anchor and put that closing process on autopilot. Guys, I've told my horror story before with S Corp clients and how do you know what reasonable comp is? My horror story is when they went after that CPA who was a friend of mine for $125,000, arguing that he knew and that he knew better and that he should have made sure his clients took reasonable comp. I'm a huge fan of RC reports. RC reports, it's about $1,400 a year. We're charging the S Corps that come to us under audit $750 a piece. We'll probably make between $10,000 and $20,000 with RC reports. But if you have S Corp or C Corp clients, they have to each year get a report, and the report is as simple as possible. RC Reports has a huge database of businesses. It will give you a report that you can rely on. And so far, to date, when we produce that report, not a single auditor has challenged it. The critical thing right now is for your clients to get that report to support the number they're taking on the return, that you're taking on that return that you're signing. Best way to do it, RC Reports. Go check it out, okay? You can find them. It's trn.rcreports.com. Again, trn.rcreports.com. Go there, you'll save $100. It will change your practice, create an annuity stream for you, and bulletproof your clients' corporate returns. The Tax Rep podcast is now proudly partnered with Nice Job, the experts in reputation marketing. Reviews are so important for attracting new clients. Before Nice Job, I would ask people to leave reviews, but they would usually forget, and I didn't have a way to stay on top and remember to follow up with them. That's where Nice Job comes in. Their smart follow-up campaign recognizes who hasn't left a review yet and automatically sends carefully timed reminders that can increase your chances of getting a review by 300%. I tried Nice Job for Tax Rep, and it's been a game changer. We added 33 five-star reviews in our first month, and our Google business profile is like a magnet for new customers. You can try Nice Job for free for 14 days and get 50% off your first 3 months by visiting nicejob.grsm.io/taxrep. nicejob.grsm.io/taxrep. I'm going to put a link in the description of the podcast. Try it. It will be a game changer for your business as well. How do I manage my tax rep practice? How do I get transcripts? How do I track what is going on with the IRS with every single one of my client cases? How do we complete the offer forms, the powers of attorney, everything? We use Tax Help software. Tax Help software is the cornerstone of our practice. We use it for its intelligent ordering. Every single night, it will update the transcripts on our clients, so we will see things happen long before those letters even go to the mail. We can then, react. We can let the client know. We can get all the transcripts we need to determine what our client's best options are, when is the debt going to expire, and we can fill in all of the IRS forms and get them filed accurately, the analysis done correctly. If you're interested in giving it a test, go to taxhelpsoftware.com, use promo code TaxRepTrial, all one word, all caps. You'll get a free 2-week trial. Again, that's taxhelpsoftware.com, TaxRepTrial, all caps, for a free 2-week trial. If you love it and want to buy it, use TaxRep10, capital, all caps, TAXREP10, TaxRep10, all caps, one word. You'll save 10% on your purchase. It will be the engine that runs your tax rep practice, just like it's what we use for ours. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this week's Tax Rep Network podcast. I'm Eric Green. I think you know that. I am joined today by Nayo Carter-Gray. I think you probably know her. I know her from just following her online. Everything from virtual practice, automation. Now you're an EA. In fact, why don't you, if you can, for those folks who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show today. I'm a huge fan, right? So for those of you who've never had the honor and privilege of meeting me, my name is Nayo Carter-Gray. I am the owner and founder of First Step Accounting, where we make accounting a little less taxing for small business owners all across the U.S. I am an enrolled agent, and in our firm, we mostly work with what I call my hustlepreneurs. So they're typically going from full-time employment to full-time entrepreneurship. So we do help them with kind of starting with the DIY model with education and training, all the way up to handling their taxes, and then the monthly accounting and bookkeeping, and some advisory around all of those things. And sometimes we get clients to come to us because they have collection issues. So this is where my EA designation really comes into handy. And we also handle a few audits. We're very picky and choosy about the audit cases we take. Sometimes we're like, you're not a good fit. But it works really, really well for us being able to streamline the practice. For those of you who want to kind of know about my team, it is 2.5 of us. So not including myself, that would make 3.5, 2 full-time, 1 part-time floater who goes between our tax and accounting practice as necessary. I am located in Baltimore, Maryland. I love all things tech. So I know me and Eric are going to talk tech today. You can get me talking about technology all day, every day. I can spend 20 million hours comparing notes on, how to buy a PC, on the way to what's the best app to make sure you're tracking your water intake.
No, it's by the way, have you seen an upsurge since COVID of people going from W-2 to self-employed?
I have, but a lot of them are maintaining their full-time jobs in addition to the business. So I've really seen an upsurge in people who are managing both. And it's really exciting to me to see them, because they're all like, we want to do this right. I'm trying to keep the business running long term, because the pandemic kind of highlighted for them, like, this was my war source of income. If I couldn't go into work, then I was kind of screwed. So yeah, I've really been seeing them, an uptick in people doing both. And it's exciting to kind of watch how they develop and grow over the next few years, to see if any of them are going to go from, make the leap into full-time entrepreneurship. but I love how excited they are to do things right. That's probably the biggest and best thing that came out of the pandemic. People wanted access to those PPP funds. And when they realized, oh, you haven't registered a business. Oh, we haven't put this business on a tax return. And like, I couldn't get it in their money. So all of them are like, we want to do this right from now on.
Yeah, no, I actually agree. I think the side hustle is the best. First of all, it lets you test the water. And so for folks listening to this, if you're working at a firm and have been thinking of going on your own, I was at Deloitte and I started, because I couldn't practice law at Deloitte, I started my practice as a side hustle, which by the way, sucks because that means nights and weekends is when I'm running around meeting people. But what happened is very quickly, I'd say within 6 months, I began to realize there was enough for me to jump. Not enough to completely make up the salary at Deloitte, but it doesn't have to. It just has to be enough so I can float my household while I build on this. And it is much better than, I think, than I'm going to raise money and I'm going to go open something and start, because what we see, most folks who fail, most small businesses that fail from the word go because they're undercapitalized. They figured out how much they need to open, but hadn't thought through, well, how long is it going to take to make a profit that I got to carry myself? So before you know it, within 60, 90 days now, they're burning through their capital just to try to maintain their household. So no, I think it is, it's not surprising. What is a little surprising is I'm getting the sense so many people have burned out that I was wondering if a lot of people, just quit and I'm going to go on my own. Or it sounds like people are being a little more sensible about thinking this through. And by the way, going to you first, how many people the accountant is the afterthought? So the accountant ends up doing like a postmortem.
And we get a lot of those too.
Oh yeah. When folks do come to you, and this is why we're going to go diving into tech and virtual. I mean, what I like about my IRS rep practice, I mean, I'm surrounded. We do have an office, but I actually don't need one. My team, multiple days a week, are remote. I could run my whole practice from remote. The pandemic has trained clients to get used to Zoom. No, you don't have to come and sit with me. Which means when my youngest goes off to college, we can go to Florida for a few months, maybe when it's snowing, if it ever snows again, before Florida vanishes under the waves. I could go to Europe if I wanted. In other words, I'm freed up. Technology allows us to do that. And I don't know if you've heard this story, but Don Brolin.
Yes, love Don Brolin.
Oh yeah, no. So my thing was I would go to like Scaling New Heights. I speak, I go back to my room and bill because I'm a lawyer. That's what lawyers do. And Dawn finally was like, you got to come to the exhibit hall. And I'm like, it's accounting. Well, why? Oh my God. I mean, there's so much on everything, inventory, AR, onboarding. It was mind blowing. And in fact, so now I've started, SmartVault and Liscio and all of the different, now I'm sort of gotten into this. My law partners think I'm nuts, but I'm like, no, we gotta move. We've got to shift because it allows you to do way more. So when folks do come to you, are you educating them or you find that they're showing up kind of educated?
Sometimes they come with this preconceived notion about how things are supposed to work, and we can show them a different way. A lot of times my client base, some of them come and they're like, I don't want to seem completely clueless. So they'll do a bunch of research before they talk to us. They'll say, hey, we looked this up and this is the app we want to sign up for. And then I'll ask a few questions like, you looked up this app, but does it meet your needs? Have you really taken the time to figure out what it is you're trying to accomplish? So when we're talking apps, and I love me a good vendor room. I've been to probably every accounting conference there is. Love me a good vendor room. I have great relationships with a lot of the app partners. I've done promotional work for them. I'm an ambassador for a few. And so I tell people, you never start with the tech. You start with the process. Until you've really mapped out what it is you're trying to accomplish, you're just basically paying for an app because you heard it was popular. You don't know if it's going to meet your needs. So, it's like taking a step back. Starting with the process, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I just start with the app? And it's like, because once we know the process, we can then decide whether this is the best app for the job or whether there's a different app out there that can do multiple steps in the process, or if you need to revamp your process altogether, right? Like one of the things, I sat back one tax season when I was just a solo practitioner, and I was like, I can't keep operating like this. I'm gonna burn myself out. And I had to evaluate what was draining most of my energy. And I realized it was answering the phone. If your phone is ringing all day and you're trying to get work done, it is a huge distraction. One change for me was having an answering service answer the call, because I still wanted somebody to talk to a live person. But then I decided, did that live person have to be me? So this one switch freed my time up. So then I was able to really dive into the deep work that I needed to do without feeling drained at the end of the day, feeling like I hadn't accomplished anything, right? And then talking about how the apps can streamline our efficiency. A project management system, when you're working across a team, does wonders for really understanding, where are we in the process? Is somebody getting held up? Who's the bottleneck here? Because we can, if we're working on a team, we can see this has been done, this has been done. Oh, this thing right here is outstanding. This is Sally's responsibility. Let me check in with Sally, see if there's anything holding her up. Is there any missing information? Do we need to contact the client? And then it really helps you understand a little bit more. Is this process still working? Talking about working remotely. My admin is in Jamaica. So, she's not physically in the office with us. I have an office too. I just prefer to work in a designated spot, but we don't see clients here. Right. And she can talk to my clients as if she's in the same state, right? They can call her on the phone, they can email her. She knows she can go right into project management without having to interrupt my day to say, hey, where are we with so-and-so's work? She can look at it and make that human connection right there. So the tech is the add-on. It's not the primary. It is like the sprinkles on top of the sundae, the cherry on top. People get hung up on the tech. I don't want to pay for these apps. I don't know if this is the right app. And it's like, start with the process and then weave in the apps.
Well, and what I was going to say, there's a lot to unpack there. What do you want? Where do you want to go? Explain. I talked about this in my book. I was an out of control person. You apparently were smarter than I before you got completely out of control, got a handle. I was to the point where I was probably clinically depressed. And I opened the book with this story. I'm in on the weekend because I was always on the weekend. And my friend was like, what's wrong? I'm like, tax rep is great. The firm is great. My family's great. Why am I so miserable? And so he said, okay, what do you want? I'm like, what do you mean? He said, what do you want? Describe what you want your day to look like, your week, your month, your practice. And I couldn't. And he said, well, that's a problem, because how do we know where we're going if we don't know where we want to go? So give that some thought. And him hanging around with me for one day, he said, the phone's got to go. The other thing is I would do everything for every case. He said, time for an assistant. So I got Nicole. Nicole is my gatekeeper. You actually can't call and get directly to me. You have a live human. She will do the intake. She can also weed people out, that we're just not going to take. And once I got free of that, the headspace to actually work, now I don't have to do the work at night and the weekends. Now I'm not fighting with my wife because I'm not around. Even when I was home, I wasn't present. I was in the office mentally. But the other thing that you mentioned, the apps, Well, how do you want your practice to run? There, as I mentioned, there's a lot of stuff. How you want to work is going to drive which app you want or need. And so I would think it'd be fascinating to sit in one of your consults as you take people through that, because you know, I tend to, we don't do that. So I'm at the end of the line. They come in, they already have a problem. What I'd say is, you're a shit show. Go see Nayo, right? Go see Dawn, because someone's got to sit down with you and help you. Frankly, this won't happen if you have your stuff. You know what it is? People don't want to invest the time up front to do that, and so everything becomes a sort of chaotic mess that you're trying. Like, it's like running in quicksand. You're trying to, you know, get a hold of. I know, because I lived it. You know,
Yes.
and, you know, so when they come in and they, you know, I've got ideas, I've got all this stuff. So first of all, let's say I'm listening to this and I want to talk to you. You know, this sounds great. How do you determine who you're going to work with?
So first off, we use our booking system kind of as that gatekeeper initially. So if you find our phone number online and you call the office, you're going to get the answering service, and they are going to give you to take your message. And if you say you're a new customer, they're going to tell you how to schedule an appointment. So first off, we only work with tech savvy people. If you have a problem with technology, you're not going to be a good fit. So if they have given you instructions on how to schedule an appointment and you don't schedule the appointment, you're instantly not a good fit. We're not even going to return that phone call. Then once you do schedule, we ask a few questions: what your entity type is, what you think your problem is. We don't work with nonprofits. That's not my jam. I don't love that kind of work. So we have a list of people we refer out to. So if you say in your intake form, hey, I'm a nonprofit, instant rejection. And then I look at how you describe your problem. So, you know, some people say they'll give me a short description. I just need my taxes done. Or they'll give me this 4-paragraph, you know, here's the thing. I tried to work with this person. It didn't work out. So I kind of look at that, as well as how well do you communicate? How well do you understand what your problem is? And if you blame others for your issues. So I'm looking for all of that and how you communicate with this written description of what your problem is. And then once we talk to them, I'm still on I'm still one of those people that do a free consultation. It's only 15 minutes, right? If you can't explain what you think your issue is in 15 minutes, we're also not going to be a good fit, because I have my little organization over here running like a well-oiled machine. If you need more of my time, we're probably not going to work out. So in 15 minutes, I can kind of determine, one, we're looking at personality. If you are complaining from the start, we don't want to work with complainers. But if we're talking to you and you're telling me all the research you've done, or you look me up, or you tell me what your problem is, and I'm like, okay, great, I can help you. And if they have 3-4 things going on, because typically that's what happens. We'll get somebody, they got a notice from the IRS, they need a file, they haven't done bookkeeping for 3 years, the business has been in existence. They also are trying to get some funding from this person, so they need some financial statements. So what we do is we slow them down and set the expectations from that initial call. Here is what I heard. Did I hear you correctly? Yes. Okay, we're going to tackle each one of these things one at a time. We're going to start with this. This is the foundation. And say if it is they haven't filed the taxes in 3 years, they got this notice from the IRS, their bank account's going to be levied. First thing we're going to do is, let me call the IRS for you, figure out, can we put a hold on this thing? Then they are like, oh, yes. Step 1. Now, step 2, we got to get the bookkeeping right. So then I can really do what I need to do for the IRS, for your funding issue, and then to help you manage the business going forward. So part of, understanding what a client's needs is really slowing them down, because it feels overwhelming for them. They got all these things going on and they feel like they're being attacked. Sometimes it's okay to say,
they may be focused on something that they're skipping way ahead, and you got to pull them back and say, well, before we get there, let's sort something out.
Yeah. And then the other thing is the setting the expectation. Some people they don't understand the process of accounting or the process of tax prep or the process of handling, an audit or a collections issue. Some of them think you can just make the phone call and it's going to happen overnight. Like, I'm amazed at all the people who want to file offers and compromise and think it's going to happen yesterday. I'm like, this is a long, slow process. So I need to set your expectations that this will not happen in 10 days. It's going to be more like 2 years until if you don't get all the things we need together. So I try to set that expectation up front. And then what I realize for my client base is if I give them more than 3 things to do in one email, they will miss everything except for one thing. So if there's some follow-up from our initial call, we have 3 steps. Anything more than that will happen after they followed the first 3 steps. So it's like, I need these 3 these things, upload them to the portal. After that, I'll reach out for another meeting. Then we do the next thing and the next thing. And then finally, once I've gathered all the information, I create this timeline for them to physically show them, here's where we are today. Here's what the timeline is going to look like. And I ask the question are you okay with this? And if they say, no, we need it done yesterday, we're not the team for you. Just because I'm very realistic about my capacity, what my schedule looks like. And I'm at the point now where I know no is a complete sentence. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of accountants who want to do all the things and help all the people, but it's to your detriment. And sometimes you have to say, unfortunately, we can't help you. If this doesn't work for you, thank you. I can refer you to a couple of other people who may be able to assist. But if you want to work with me, this is how we work together.
Couple things. Yeah. So I've been very hype for the audience. I've been very hype on we charge for consults, but here's the difference. What Nayo's talking about is a long-term relationship. That is different. My estate planning partners do free consults. It's a relationship. They got to be comfortable. IRS stuff, yeah, we're not giving away all kinds of free time. So there's a difference there. But the other thing is, you mentioned, which is critical, and we talked about setting up your process, which apps are important, whatever. Once you have a process to make money, everything has to fit into that process. When you start going outside of that, now you lose your scale. You lose the leverage that would allow you to get it done with margin. For instance, and I've mentioned this a bunch of times on my show, people are always like, wouldn't you rather do like big criminal tax cases? No. They're hourly. I'm dealing with a client that's stressed out. There's no leverage there. It is purely just rate times hour. And you can't make money rate times hour. I mean, I'll make money, but you don't make money. There's no profit. It's simply my sweat equity.
Right.
And so the truth of the matter is, more and more, I do less and less of that. I'd rather refer it out somewhere else and do the things that we can leverage. So I've just to pile on to what you were saying, for the folks listening, once you have your process set up, you want to find as many clients that fit that process. Not, I'll do a nonprofit. I can sort that out. Or yeah, I'll do some international. I'm sure I can figure that out. I mean, listen, if you are interested and you want to invest the time, that's your bit, like a hobby, that's your business. But it's not running to take yourself from job to business. You need to run it like a business, which means there are things you're just not going to do. It's just not profitable.
Right.
No, it's critical. Right on.
Yeah.
And
I know it's hard to do, especially when you're kind of just starting your business and you're going out full time and you're just like, ugh, I just have to fill this bank account up. And so, I'll be the first to admit, when I first started the business full time, I would take on any and everybody until I realized, like, I don't really like working with this type of client, but I like working with this type of client. So that's, one of the reasons why we have those parameters in place. And, it's funny because I work with the clients most accounting professionals don't want to work with, our hustlepreneurs, the ones with they want the most attention and they have the least amount of resources. But for me, it's where I feel like I can have the most impact. And I get to do a bunch of education. So for me, it's a win-win because, as you can tell, I really love talking and I can talk accounting, technology, and growing your small business all day. When I initially started the firm full time, I was working a full-time job that I had lost because of the recession. And I had a retail store that had failed. I was doing multi-level marketing. So I come from the community that knows what it's like to work a full-time job and run a business on the side. I've also had a failed business because at that time it was crazy for me to go buy a daggone brick and mortar business that was a dinosaur. It was a hosiery store of all things. Who's wearing pantyhose, right? Nobody wants to do that anymore. So the business failed. I had to close the doors and I was in debt. And so I've dealt with that, which makes it easy for me to be able to speak the language of the clients that we serve because I've been through it. I know what it's like and I know how to come out of it. And I've built resources to be able to help them along that journey. And now training my team to be able to take over some of the things that I was doing is awesome because we're serving the same types of client. They can step right in. They have a framework. All they're building up is really the personality to go along with the framework that we're dealing with. I have the one-on-one interaction skills. They're like, we don't know these clients. I'm like, you're going to learn them today.
Yep. But you build the machine and you feed as much as you can into that machine.
Yeah. And then to your point, if there is a service that you're trying to get into and you're like, I think I want to do this, but we haven't done it before. I'll offer a temporary engagement if somebody comes to me and I'm like, oh, I kind of think I want to do this, but we haven't built up the SOP for it. And we'll do a 3-month engagement or, we'll use this particular person as the test pilot to see how that relationship shakes out. And I'll tell that potential client that that's what we're doing to see if we want to do this long term. And usually they agree because they have this short-term problem that we're solving for them. And if we discover during that process, like, no, we can't make this work, they're still okay because they have a framework built up. And by that point, we've probably found somebody else that could help them along the journey. And they're always grateful, right? Because we don't just leave them hanging in the wind. We've tried, we just weren't that successful. You have a base, and I am now sending you to somebody else that can take the baton out of our hands and really bring this race home. So, it's always an option too.
Has your being virtual caused issues with the clients, or because the clients are coming in while you're working virtual, is it just they're good with it?
So we do have a couple of clients that, like, I like to call them my seasoned clients, and they're the ones who didn't grow up with that native technology in hand. And so a few of them struggle, and my admin is really great with them. She will talk to them over the phone and kind of walk them through how to do the thing in the technology. So they appreciate that, even though we're using this tech, we are taking the time to walk them through it. It's only a handful of those people, right? We have no more than 10 of these seasoned clients, and they are generally the parents of my other clients who came and were tech ready. So I can also say, hey, can I get your son or your daughter to assist you with this? They've gone through the process. And that's always a win-win too. But it's funny. Some of my older clients now, if I call, they'll answer the phone. My assistant's name is Ray. They'll say, hey, Ray. And I'll be like, I know you got me today. And they think it's hilarious because they've now talked to her more than they've talked to me in order to get those tech issues handled. But we do have an office, so every once in a while we'll get people to drop documents over, but you still have to have a scheduled appointment for that. So you're not even just coming in unannounced. We keep the front door locked. If there's a mail slot, if you need to, you can slip it in the mail slot. But for the most part, we are virtual. All of our incoming clients know it. And we tell them up front, if you have a problem with technology, we're not going to be the best firm for you. And a lot of them accept that. And I've had to turn a couple of people away because they're like, no, we don't want to do things virtually. And I'll be like, well, good luck. Here's a couple of people who I know are still operating within your parameters. But this is my business. This is how it's run. You're not walking into the Apple store telling Apple, hey, I want this brand new iPhone and only want to pay $5 for it. Apple will laugh in your face and say, you better fork over this $1,200. We got 4 colors for you to choose from. Thank
Goodbye.
you. You don't want those colors. Okay. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Yes. And we have to set those standards for our business as well. It is Eric Green's business. Eric Green gets to decide how he wants to run it. It's not, Joe Blow off the street telling Eric Green how to run the business.
Well, I tell my tax rep members when they balk at this, I say, well, the client wants me to meet them. I'm like, excuse me. So I'll give you an example. Before we did this, I was actually at the orthopedic. Having played college football, I've damaged both my shoulders from slamming into people. I'm not a small person, and there are people that are even bigger than me, over and over and over again for years. If I want to see the doctor, can you imagine calling the doctor and say, look, I'm a little busy. I need you to come over to my office. No, it's obviously not that important, right?
Right.
I make an appointment. I go there. I don't
expect. And when you call to make the appointment, you don't expect the doctor to be the person making your appointment.
No.
You're expected to be the front desk staff or nurse.
So why are we the exception, right? Now, for the folks listening to this who might be white knuckling this by now, be like, oh, my clients are. When you made the transition to basically virtual, did you bring clients with you, and how was that transition?
So great question. When I started full-time in the firm, 2010 was our first tax season full-time. And I rented an office inside of a real estate office. They had an extra room. And I actually met clients at the office. But I knew when I started the business then that I wanted to be paperless. I didn't want to be chained to the desk because I've never been that employee who liked showing up to work at 8 a.m. It just was never. I'm not a morning person. You can get me to work really, really well at 5 p.m., but 8 a.m., I am a zombie. So I knew going in that I needed to be able to have something that allowed me to work remotely. And so first piece of equipment I invested in was a high output scanner so that any clients I saw in the office, I scanned their documents and immediately gave them right back. And so the clients weren't used to that. And then some of them would try to sit in the office, and I realized, you're talking to me, you're distracting me from actually doing the work. It's taking me longer to get this done. I don't like this. And so I would set the appointment for a document scanning appointment. So they would come in, scan the documents, and then I would send them on their way. And then we would finish everything up virtually, which was at the time kind of unheard of. But after the first computer tech I found was a client portal. And I was like, I know there's a way to get these documents to these people via email securely. And so I found it and we used that. And once the return was done, I would mail in the signature documents or have them come back to the office for a signature signing appointment. So it kept the number of people out of my office, so I could do the work. Then I could be on when it was time to scan documents. So I had one day a week where all the appointments were come in, get your documents scanned, and then leave. So I knew I had to, be able to talk to people, have on a suit and nice clothes. And then we would set another day for them to be able to scan. And I was able to tell them from the onset, your scanning days are going to be this. We'll bring you back in about 2 weeks to sign on a Friday. And they were able to go, okay, cool. But I knew that that's what I wanted from the start. Finding the tech at that time was much harder. Now there's no excuse. So some of those clients who were used to coming in the office still are with me. And when the pandemic hit, they were like, how am I going to get my documents to you? And that first year, what we did was mailed them the mailers, pre-postage mailers, prepaid mailers, and they sent them the documents that way. And then I created a series of videos to teach them how to scan the documents from their cell phones. Like I talked to each one of them. I'm like, what kind of phone do you have? And they're like, iPhone. And I'm like, oh, great. You have a supercomputer. I'm going to teach you how to take a picture with your phone and upload it to the portal. So we kind of slowly graduated them from mailing stuff in to now using the cell phone because I met them where they were. But that was my choice. There were a few who were like, we want to come in the office. And I was like, we're not seeing people in the office anymore. Here's a couple of offices that may still be able to accommodate you, but we're not doing it. I'm not putting my health at risk because you want to be selfish. And I don't want you leaving out the house. We don't know what this thing is. And so we probably lost maybe 3 people, but I more than made up for that year with customers that came and were like, oh, you're all set up and ready to handle this incoming tax traffic. So it was just a very, it wasn't even a big transition for us during the pandemic. It was more like, oh, we were practicing all those other years. We're in full swing now. And that was the year I decided to set up the Taking Your Firm Virtual Summit because there were so many other tax firms just struggling with this process. I've heard about people working from home and not having the simplest thing like virus protection on their computers or using other people's internet. And it's like, you can't do that. You have to protect your client's data. And if you don't have these bare minimum things on your computer or access to it, then you are putting them at risk. And so the summit was born. We're now 4 years strong in that. So if, we just had it in August, it'll be back next year, takingyourfirmvirtualsummit.com.
Maybe I'll be there.
If you want to sign up for the wait list, but it's a free event. And the whole goal was to help accounting and tax professionals confidently and securely take their firms to the cloud. And it's amazing to me. There's still firms out there now who are like, I can't do this. And I'm like, you absolutely can. And you must in order to help grow those bottom lines of yours, right? We have offices, so we know that rent is high, but we more than make up for the rent with, like, for me, I do a bunch of studio work. So I get to record webinars in here. I've set the office up so it's beautiful and pretty on camera. And because I can do that, I have this dedicated space. I can turn the camera on really quickly, crank out a video and make money that way, in addition to the client work. And because now I've taught my team how to do the things that I was responsible for. And we've built a nice, well-oiled machine here that we keep just perfecting, fine-tuning all the little things to make it so that it's running very efficiently.
Right. And the message for the audience is you can transition clients. So, like, as you said, some clients may not, and that's fine. Wish them luck. But this is, I think, we're going to get through October 15th. From October 15th to December 31st, if you haven't, now is the time to get control of your practice. I'm a big fan. Rank all, if you're like what people, I know people that are still 20 hours a day, 6 days a week. Like, are you out of your mind? So rank all your clients, the D's and the F's get rid of, raise the prices on the others. You're going to start moving to a virtual setup. If you need help, contact Nayo, put the right tech in place, and start bringing your best clients. And guess what? If you're losing clients, I don't know any accountant that can't get more clients. In fact, there's a shortage of accountants. So now you start marketing, but those new clients come in, are charged properly. They're paying a fair price, not the underbilling because you were desperate. And they're going to come in working with this virtual environment. And you can transition the practice. It might look a little bit different, but you know what? That's not a bad thing.
It's
So
not a bad thing. I promise you. It'll be painful at first, but once you get it done, you'll be like, oh my gosh, why didn't we do this sooner?
and that's going to be my final point before we wrap up. In talking to other practitioners, because you do speaking, the conference. What do you think is the biggest stumbling block for other professionals? Is it the tech? Is it the mindset? Is it the fear that they're going to lose their clients, or sort of all of the above?
So it's usually the fear that their clients won't follow suit. And so one of the reasons why I tell them to step back and talk about and really deal with the process first is because then you can see all of the touch points that you have with your clients and really lean into making sure that the clients feel safe and secure with the new process, because you still have those points where you talk to them. We just like to build up this library of video contents because we get the same questions over and over. And so if they hear my voice explaining to them how to do things and they can see, oh, this is what my phone looks like, let me go ahead and just follow along, it makes the process easier. Or if you're still like, I don't know, bring a couple of clients into the process and say, hey, you're my VIP clients. This is what we're thinking about doing. We want to walk you through our new process. Can you help us work out any kinks and any bugs? And usually when we do this, I tell people, choose the clients that you know are going to have the hardest time with it. One, it makes them feel so special that you have included them in the process of how you're developing and growing your business, so they'll feel honored. Two, if you can answer or make everything better for them and they are your toughest clients, everybody else will fall into line. Because most of your clients are with you because of you. So if you change the process, it doesn't mean they're going to run from you overnight. It just means that they might struggle with the new process for a little while and try to revert back to the old process. But you get to say to them, hey, if you want to continue working with us, this is how we do things. And I would love to, have you stay because you're one of our valued customers. But if not, we understand, because this process isn't working for you. Here's a few other people you may want to work with. They will feel honored that you want to continue to work with them. Two, they will look at that like, oh, they aren't ignoring what we're saying. They're just trying to make things better for themselves and their team so that they can serve me better. And then three, even if they're like, nah, we still don't want to do it, they are honored that you would say, here are some other people we know who would probably work with you. You didn't just leave them high and dry. So once we get past that hurdle, then you'll fly. You'll basically take your business from here to here.
Yep. No, we do have a few instances where we'll get calls and it's a good client or a really good referral source where I'm like, you know what? Don't worry about the tech. Just drop it off. And in fact, interestingly, it's how I discovered SnapScan. Rico, to me, a scanner was a scanner, right? We have the big Xerox machines around the office. My staff were like, oh, you got to check this out. So this little ScanSnap machine, it is so clear. So sometimes my staff have been like, I'd rather just let them drop it off because they screw it up all the time and we'll just do it. But we have factored that into our price. Like I told them, we're not Staples.
Yes.
If you want something, right, go to Staples. If you want us to do it, they're going to pay for it. However, for those listening, I want to warn you, you can't do that across the board or you're right back to the old. We will make some exceptions. They tend to have to be really good ones. Otherwise, no. And by the way, in my line of business, because it tends to be more one-off with their issues, no matter how much we told people, we still have people FedEx us stuff. We charge. They're paying several $100s for my assistant to stand and scan that stuff in. And thankfully it hasn't gotten out of control, so we just suck it up and do it. But if you're going to have this ongoing, like your planning, your advisory, clients that you have a relationship ongoing with, no, I think I agree with Nayo. You've got to have that process in place. So Niall, for those folks who are listening to this who are like, I need to consult, I need to talk to, how do I get to Nayo? Which, by the way, you're everywhere online. But is there a best way for people that you'd want people to reach out to you?
So, my website has a contact form. That's the best way to get to me. I have people send me messages on LinkedIn or Twitter, which works too if you tell me where you came from, because like LinkedIn is filled with so much spam. Ugh, don't. So I'm always like, I don't know if I should trust this LinkedIn message. But my website is firststepaccounting.com, and that's the number one STEP, and then accounting with ing at the end.com. There's a nice little booking form at the bottom right-hand corner. Just click that and send me a message. Tell me, hey, I need a consult on how to automate my firm. And we'll get you all plugged in with an email to get you on my calendar so we can chat and I can learn more.
All right. I will put the link to the site in the description below. And thank you. And I look forward to next year's conference. No, it's there are some people, you, Sharon Fuller, there were some people that were really on the cutting edge of virtual and you were smarter than me, getting your arms around your practice long before, because I went all the way down the rabbit hole of, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this anymore. I drove myself not to drink, but
I mean, I have those days too. We all had those days, which forced me to really like sit down and reset.
Yeah.
And so then I had to kind of say, I'm running this business, but this business can't run without me. That's a problem if I'm putting myself at risk. So like, I tell people, I go to the gym 3 days a week. And I'm at the gym for 2 hours. And they're like, oh my gosh, in the middle of tax season? Yes. Because if I'm not healthy, then how are my clients going to get served? So it's like when you're on the plane and they say, put your mask on first. If you are not taking care of yourself, then you are no good to anybody, your family, your team, your clients. So it's when you're running a business, sometimes it's okay to step away for a moment. I just taught a session at Tri-Merit's conference, Bridging the Gap, about how to take a vacation during tax season, right? And that sounds ludicrous. Like, how dare you step away for 4 days during the busiest time of the year? And I say, but why not?
Yeah.
Right. Or, it's about prioritizing. Other people's emergency does not have to be your emergency. Right. We're dealing with grown adults. And, typically, I'll say typically, because it's not always the case, but there aren't any accounting emergencies. We know a year in advance that taxes are going to be due on April 15th. We know if we extend those taxes, they'll be due on October 15th. So this isn't new information. It's just all about prioritizing if those people are going to wait until April 1st to get you information, why is that your anxiety to take on? It's not. I give you permission there to say
extension. No, and by the way, charge for the extension. So the deal is
charge for the extension.
Yes. Oh, of course. I'm a big proponent of, if you're working those kinds of busy season, crazy hours, you're the problem. You have allowed it to get this way. So first of all, you're gonna rate. So I'll tell you a quick story before we go. Gentleman here in Connecticut has 2,000 tax clients. He was head of the EA Society. He's a good friend of mine. I had lunch with him yesterday. And a few years ago, I'm out of control. I said, raise everybody $100. He was like, I can't do that. I'm like, why not? He's like, I'll lose a third of them. I said, good. He was like, you know what? You're right. Raise them. Now he's complaining. Not enough people left. I didn't lose many people. So I'm like, good, you made an extra 180,000. You know what you do? Raise again. You keep raising your price until you've driven a third of them out. And the point is, you should be able to work. Yeah, maybe it'll be a little busier. You should be able to work more or less regular hours. This nonsense of I'm going to be here till, it's actually, I think, almost becomes sort of a badge of pride. I'm working till 11 o'clock every night. You're an idiot. first of all, you're probably not thinking as clearly, that you're not doing your client you're doing your client a disservice. You're not taking care of yourself. You're doing yourself and them a disservice. I agree with you. No, I'm telling you, everyone, this October 15th to December 31st is the moment for you to get your arms around this, so that 2024 is not going to be as bad as 2022 and 23 have been. That's my challenge. And if you need help, go to Step Accounting, contact Nayo, and she will fix everything for you.
That's right. I'll fix everything for you.
Yeah. And listen, everything. No, listen, thank you. This has been great. I'll put the link down below for everyone. And definitely go check out the conference in August. It's free. And even if you think you have it under control, I learn something new every time. Every time I have someone on, I learn something new. And so this is, in a way, for the accountants, this is actually your job, is to keep learning and keep improving and building on your business, right? So with that, Nayo, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.
All right, everyone, thank you, and I will see you on next week's podcast.